Hey guys, welcome again to another video. We're today painting a picture of a kookaburra, and we're going to try and do it in the least amount of colors that we need to use. So let's get started. So to begin with, I'm just going to do one sort of quarter of the background at a time. So I'm going to start out with quite a bit of white. It's my first color, and then we want to get all these colors down while it's thin layer of, make it a bit wobbly. This is going to be trying to suggest some trees, and then maybe a little bit of sap green, even a dark blue would also be fine. You can have that, and then maybe I'll get a bit more white on my brush. And I'm gonna get another brush. Hang on. And yeah, a bit more white on the brush, better brush, and then we just want to like zhuzhi that in a bit there, and then this way and that. And what I want to do is get that up nice close, right up to the edge, like right up to the edge there. Yeah, notice how I'm not blending all the way across, just sort of within the local, like little area of color there. Okay, so it's pretty loose. So same thing again on this little quarter, and 3 bands of color. I'll put white on my brush again, blend it out. Basically, I don't want anything to be too strong, just kind of pale and fuzzy and in the background. White blends with everything, so it's easy to activate all the stuff. You notice how I kind of crisscross across the colors into things? Just carries it through from one color to another. Pretty easy. Also makes it nice and pale in the background so it sits back. So sometimes you need to clean your brush. When it comes to blending, clean your brush. Otherwise you start just getting stuff everywhere. And work pretty quickly, and don't be too fussy. This quarter I've left the sap green out of it, just the sort of teal colour and the white. It's because the leaves will be up the top, not down the bottom. Notice as well that the paint I put on is always really generous. That's the only way you're going to be able to blend the acrylic paint. And the colours have to be on in generous amounts wet at the same time. So I've got 3 colours wet: white, this tealy colour, and the green. And they can blend because they're all wet. As soon as they dry, it's game over. So generous amounts on at the same time. Okay, now if you're going to follow through this would be a good time to do this step and pause the video until you've done that. So let's pause. When you've done that, you've got all the colors down, you can pretty much just keep on blending until you almost lose all the distinction between the colors. They almost become one flat color. So you can just keep on blending as much as you like. You can make the background really smooth, but as it gets drier, it blends less. And at some point it's just going to stop. But you can make it so it's just very subtle variations of color in the background, because this painting is not about the background. You don't want it to be a really significant part of the painting, so just keep on blending till it's, it's just a bunch of colors, very fuzzy. Notice how it all just starts to smooth out, also starts to dry out a lot. Blending across. I have a pretty smooth brush, so that kind of helps, but just be light and flicking across the surface and it just smooths itself out. So the colors I've got here are burnt sienna, which is like a chocolate brown, red oxide, which is like a rusty brown, yellow ochre, which is like a yellow but kind of dirty, and then a kind of a bluey blacky color, it's sometimes called Payne's grey. You could also either just use black or blue for what we're going to do. So first of all, mixing tiny little bit of burnt umber with the white, just a tiny bit, till we get like a middle tone burnt umber color. And this is going to be the main belly of the kookaburra. Like so. And then also the feathers underneath. And while you're at it, you might as well stick in a few blobs down the tail, like so. And then a little bit up on the back of the head. It's going to be in shadow because we're imagining the light's coming from this side. A little bit less white in that, and we can pop in a few shadows around and suggest some feathers, using a sort of calligraphic way of using the brush. You know, sometimes you have to just kind of zhuzhi it, flick it, and so on. And notice again, I'm just doing one section at a time, not trying to do the whole bird, just trying to do this one section of the bird, the white bits. So the next bit is I'm putting in a color. It's going to look like white, but it's actually got a tiny little bit of this. This is really important. Don't go pure white till right at the end. So you've got a bit of play in that. So this is sort of a creamy color. That might even be a little bit too light actually. Creamy color. Probably should start to get into following where the feathers would go, so you're getting the kind of feel of it being bright. Now, again, got all my colours on there in the area. What I have to do while it's still wet is why I'm talking a bit quick, is because you have to actually get in there and blend it before it all dries up. Don't worry if it doesn't cover too well. My paints are really cheap, these ones I'm using. Cheap and cheerful, but sometimes it's just a matter of doing a couple of coats. Yeah, and it's not really easy way to exactly explain this, but if you're looking at a photograph or something, or even if you're just looking at this example, just imagining eventually we lay down a slightly darker color at the bottom, and then we start to make sort of dabs, almost like rows of feathers, and that's all it is, just like a little calligraphic use of the brush, just to kind of suggest stuff, make it look a bit fluffy. People imagine that it's fluffy because it's a kookaburra, they expect it to be fluffy. People like shortcuts, so they will fill in the blanks, which is cool. Okay, I've switched to a slightly smaller brush, and generally I don't really encourage too much use of white, but in some points where the sun's hitting something and it's whitey, white, just you know, you can dab on some white. Don't overdo it, or it'll lose its kind of magic. What it's usually good for is why it seems magic in some ways is because it seems to convey the idea of light, and we love the light. It seems magic and cool. Like, think about fairy lights in trees and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so see how that pops? You can just get a bit more depth. Okay, so now while we're at it, and we've got this wet, we're going to go into these two colors, which is like the yellow ochre and burnt sienna. See, I'll mix those together. It's really nice, like mixing chocolate and caramel together. So I want to get a bit of a mixture of those two on the brush, so swirl a bit this way, swirl a bit that way, both on the brush at the same time, so it's a little bit chaotic. And then I want to do some calligraphic flicking motions up for these areas. Sometimes let your brush run out of colour, because in the moments when it's running out it can get a bit interesting. So I want some darker bits in here too, some streaks for the feathers. Yeah, what an awesome bird, the kookaburra. Yeah, I Okay, and then while we're there, we'll get some of this caramelly chocolate color and stick in a few little marks for maybe it can be down on the tail there. Could have done that better, but there you go. The next thing, okay, so next it's the wings. Nice layer of burnt sienna, the dark brown, followed by a streak of the dark blue or the black, and just a few little shadows in there. With the clean brush, coming from the burnt sienna side, the brown side, just maybe soften that line and see how when it mixes with the blue or the black it darkens and it looks like a shadow of that same color. Dark brown stripes along the tail, some thick and some thinner at the bottom. And then this awesome dark brown bandit's mask up around his eyes. So by mixing the dark blue blacky color with the brown, I've got a very very dark color, almost like black. Otherwise you can just use black, it's perfectly fine. And I'm just dabbing in a few things like the beak, the toes, maybe just kind of emphasize a few shadows here and there. It's pretty compatible with the brown color as a shadow because it's got the brown here. So you'll notice the eye is basically black now. So I'm going to get a bit of that sienna. You can even mix a bit of yellow, yellow ochre with it, make it a bit lighter. Sorry, sienna, the rusty color, oxide, red oxide. And I'm just going to paint a little Pac-Man shape around the bottom of that eye. See that little Pac-Man shape there? People who know what Pac-Man is, like a little half circle. So the circle, the eye started out as a black blob. I painted like a little strip of color down the bottom. I can imagine that's a pupil there and a bit of lights reflecting off the top, and bam. Okay, I've got an eye. Okay, on the beak, red oxide again. It's a bit tricky while I'm holding the camera, but okay. Inside the mouth, under the beak. I'm going to go some yellow, streak of yellow, and streak of white on top of that, and then just with a clean brush that I've just wiped, just dab at that and just let it blend in. Okay, so the top part of the beak's a little bit hazy going, so I'm kind of just gonna stick a bit of a highlight there in kind of a bluish grey with white. Don't lose that same thing on the feet. Yeah, I was gonna say don't lose the dark outline there. That's probably what gives it the most definition. Another cool thing about this bird is the kind of anomaly of these little blue feathers. So there's like little U shape when you come to painting the feathers. You might just want to spot out where you reckon they're going to go and then kind of commit to them. Just a calligraphic mark too. You want to go a couple of different ways. So painting back up from them gives them a sharper edge. I don't know how many you want to do. It's not like they've got a lot, but it's just kind of cool that they're there. You can use your dark colors to just get out a little bit more definition here and there and neaten things up. A few little underlines underneath those blue feathers really make them pop out as well. That can be a nice effect. The branch is 3 colors: grey, brown, and a sort of yellow ochre. blending them across each other in a sort of a jagged candy cane kind of way. And emphasizing as much as possible the kind of grey running through it, which kind of neutralizes it and makes it not become a main feature. If you want to run a few like crack sort of wood grainy sort of effects with the tip of your brush, you can dilute a little bit of very dark colour and fine line. Finishing touches are often things like just looking for little bits of highlights here and there, making them pop out. It's these like little 1% things that often turn out to be pretty effective. So just have a bit of a fiddle around with that. Yeah, maybe try bringing some of the colours that you've found in other parts into some parts that if you feel like they're a little bit dull or just a bit predictable. So I've got this nice golden colour here, the yellow ochre, and I'm just kind of bringing that into a few bits. Just gives another bit of warmth, mixing it with a rusty colour in the feathers there. Just gives it a little bit of extra kick, but you don't have to do that. You can just leave it if you're happy with what you've got so far. And that's basically it. So refining bits could go on forever, but that's basically it. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. So that's basically it. I spent a lot of the time just kind of sharpening up edges, I suppose like reinforcing the highlights and darkening the darks, trying to make sure that the edges are defined. Hope you've enjoyed the lesson, and see you again next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye.